Hello, everyone. It's Charles Cherney, and this is the Ask Charles Cherney series. Today's question is, what is the appraised value? So I'm going to answer this question in terms of my experience as a real estate agent in Cambridge and Somerville, Massachusetts. But in brief, the appraised value is the specific dollar value placed on a specific property by a licensed appraiser on a specific day and time. So we ask ourselves, well, when is it that a appraisal is done? So a property owner may wish to establish the value of the residence through a licensed appraiser's report for the purposes of establishing a home equity line of credit. In fact, the lender, the bank, will require the appraisal be done for issuing an equity line of credit. It may be that there is estate planning being done by a property owner who needs to know or wants to know the appraised value of a property. Someone could be going through a divorce. So there's different reasons why a property owner may call upon an appraiser to complete an appraisal report. In real estate transactions, of course, most buyers are getting a loan, and the lender is going to therefore require an appraisal report. So in my experience as an agent, I'm meeting appraisers all the time because the deal requires that an appraiser visit the property, complete their appraisal report. They then come up with a specific dollar amount that they believe the home is worth. Now, what can confuse people in the market is that the city of Cambridge and Somerville, in my marketplace, each year completes a assessed value for every property. So we've got the licensed appraiser completing the appraisal report, the city of Cambridge and Somerville, respectively, coming up with an assessed value. And then myself as a real estate agent, I'm often called in, and then I complete a market range of value. So we've got three different things here: the appraised value, the assessed value, and the market range of value. And these numbers are not always the same. There can be variations. But in a real estate transaction, the appraised value is very important. A simple example will, I think, help illuminate. So let's imagine there's a property for sale for $425,000, and John and Mary buyers make an offer on the home for $500,000, which is $75,000 over asking. This is not uncommon in Cambridge and Somerville in recent times because the market's been strong in a seller's market, and multiple offers is common, and bidding over the asking price is fairly typical. So in this example, they've bid $75,000 over asking. Let's imagine, for the sake of this example, they are the winning bid. And now they're going to seek a loan for 80% of the purchase price. So if the purchase price is $500,000, the loan amount is $400,000 in this example, with $100,000 down. The appraiser goes to the property and completes his appraisal report. He knows going in that it's the case that the sale price is $500,000. He's holding a copy of the signed purchase and sale. He's also aware of the fact that it was on the market for $425,000. He looks at the comparable sales, completes his appraisal report, and in his opinion, on that specific day that he visits the property, he thinks it's worth $450,000. So here's the rub. The lender will give the buyer the lesser of the two numbers, and in this instance, the lesser of the two numbers is the appraised value, $450,000. So the lender won't give them $450,000. They'll give them 80% of $450,000 in this example, which is $360,000. But the buyer was seeking 80% of the purchase price, $500,000, and so they were looking for a loan of $400,000. But the lender has approved them based on the appraisal for a loan of $360,000. So there's a gap between what the buyer in this example wants, $400,000, and what the lender will give them based on the appraised value, which is $360,000. And that gap is $40,000. So what happens? Well, there are no hard and fast rules, but for the deal to go forward, something has to give. Either the buyer has to put down additional money, perhaps the full $40,000. The seller needs to reduce the price, perhaps the full $40,000. or buyer and seller need to both give a little and meet somewhere in the middle, or possibly neither buyer or seller is willing to solve this and the deal dies. So the appraised value in a real estate transaction when a loan is involved is crucial, because if the appraisal falls short of the purchase price, a gap will emerge, and then the buyer and seller will have to discover if there's a solution for the deal to proceed. In that particular example I gave, sure, the buyer could request a second appraisal. They could perhaps look to work with a different bank. It all depends on how much time there is in the transaction, and there's no guarantee that the second bank will solve it with their appraiser or a new appraisal will solve it. So it can be an issue for property appraises for less than the purchase price. And of course, it can happen in a hot market when purchase prices are high and the appraiser is, in his report, unable to, in his opinion, establish the value based on relevant sales. So understanding what the appraisal is and the appraised value is an important part of understanding a real estate transaction. It's interesting. Sometimes people will question whether it's worth paying the purchase price if it appraises for less than the purchase price. And, it's an interesting question. I think ultimately the realtor and their market range of value is what really matters, or ought to matter, in the mind of the buyer who's seeking to understand the value of the property. Ultimately, a property is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. For a buyer seeking peace of mind, if the appraisal comes in for less than the purchase price, and they're maybe going to have to solve that matter by putting more money down, they might check in with their buyer's agent for a review of the valuation analysis to help them understand the value of the property, because the market is the ultimate determinant of value. So if someone's willing to pay a certain price for a property, and that price can be established through a market valuation analysis, then that should give the buyer peace of mind. No two appraisers are the same. You could take two appraisers to the same property and they can come back with different appraised values. So look, there's much to this process. On the listing side, when I'm the listing broker and I'm meeting an appraiser at a property, I always have done my homework and have prepared and bring with me the relevant information that informs an understanding of the subject property. So in the example I gave, if I'm the listing broker for a property listed for $425 that's selling for $500, for sure I'm coming to the appraisal appointment equipped with information on relevant recent sales in the $500,000 range that I can share with the appraiser and give additional information about to help him with the report he's writing to establish the value. So on the listing side, a good listing broker is helping the appraiser with his report. On the buyer agent side, the buyer is seeking to help their buyer client understand the market value of the property. So hopefully, if you've taken the time to watch this, it's giving you a deeper sense of the appraised value, and understand that it's not the same as the city's assessed value for tax purposes, which is typically a lower figure, and not always the same as the market range of value given by a realtor like me, because it's specifically an assessed value, that is a specific value given by a licensed appraiser on a specific day and time, looking at the comps. My name is Charles Cherney. I'm a top realtor in Cambridge and Somerville, serving buyers and sellers. Reach out at any time for assistance, and I'll speak with you soon. Take care.